Here with two greats. I've always wanted to meet Mrs. Sangeeta Sonak. I finally get to meet you here. And of course, Mr. Nadkarni, I don't know whether you remember, but during the Smart City projects and the JNHRM projects, we had a few interactions. So it's really good to listen to you now and the questions that will unfold. Before I start, we've already been bombarded with a lot of heavy information on the Khazans by Mrs. Sonak, and I like to do this check-in. It's a little meditative, and I think it is important. So I have a request for you. Everybody is supposed to close their eyes, okay? Just close your eyes and follow my lead, okay? 1, 2, 3. I want each of you in this moment, as you close your eyes, to think about your childhood and the time that you spent anywhere in nature, whether it is the forest or the field or perhaps a part of the Khazan. To me, it was Khazan and only Khazan. As a child, I would spend a lot of time on the barns, on the mangroves, falling asleep, looking at crabs. I would also go with my grandmother to the salt pans in South Goa for our yearly collection of salt. Swimming in the river was my father's favorite. Let's hold on to that memory. And you can slowly open your eyes. So my first question would be to Mr. Nadkarni. You have so much experience having worked with really large projects or involved in projects like dams and other irrigation projects. But you've also written a book on the Khazans. And for us to better understand, how would you compare the two?
Basically, there are water retaining structures, both these bunds as well as dams. Dams might be a larger scale, but bunds are definitely small dikes, you can say. But I had an experience of designing these bunds also, right from somewhere in 1980s. Because our minor irrigation involved repairs of this bund, reconstruction of this bund. So I was involved in these Khazans for right from I think somewhere in 1986 or so. From then onwards, right from being an assistant engineer where I had to go around, right up to chief engineer, which I could use my knowledge in doing innovative some alternatives to these bunds. If I am permitted, these Khazan lands, basically what Sangeeta has stated, are in 4 parts. One are the bunds, dikes. In Goa itself, we have got about 18,951 hectares of Khazan lands, which are protected by about 431 kilometers of distance. Look, it is a huge quantum of this. You cannot say it is a small this. There are small Khazans, there are big Khazans. But the quantum is so huge that these Khazans are the rice bowl. Basically, there are 4 parts to it. One is bunds, one is the sluice gate at Sangeeta showed. Then third is the points. Points also has got a very good importance. Importance in the sense that it drains all the water from the upper Kher and Morod lands out down to the Khazan. and through the sluice get back to this. Another thing, it has got a 3 or 4 pronged sort of functions. First is drainage. Second one, it's like a sort of a film or a layer between the saline atmosphere and
Fresh.
so not fresh. It is a slightly small, brackish or slightly this atmosphere. Thirdly, some of the water will be used for cultivating, like turgut and whichever earlier we used that red rice.
Yes.
Now ICR has developed more recent. Another part would be that top agricultural land or the what agors or salt farming. Now, question is, as Sangeeta said, over the years there has been a lot of changes in the administration of these funds. Earlier it was Gaonkari, then came the Kumdar working, and now the tenant association. So all these changes have sort of disturbed whole fabric of that whole Khazan system.
Correct.
Earlier it used to be a common ownership and common responsibility. People managed, it was a common ownership and common responsibility. Once used to be a common responsibility. There used to be bows or panelis who used to manage all that. Then Kumda, the code of Kumda has also worked on similar lines with a lot of changes. But present tenants restriction, it is individual ownership and common responsibility, which practically doesn't work.
Correct.
So it works on subsidies and whatnot, and government, everything is put on. But basically, I feel that that whole fabric needs to be looked into.
I've heard of stories that people used to watch for the Khaute. And the moment there was a signal that Khaute padle,
there used to be bombs who used to go around
checking.
If they heard a sound at night, before the night they had to repair it, because if it developed into a Khaute,
right.
If this small this,
then it was too difficult.
Then it would be out of bounds of a common farmer to repair. Right. So it had to be repaired at that time.
Right. So I think this is an important point, because when it was community managed, everybody was accountable. And now what you see is, it's just a group of people and there's a complete break of that system. And of course there are all sorts of other complexities and vested interests. And the management of these lands has become very, very difficult.
Another issue was that government was rethinking. Vicar was there. And we were thinking of bringing a legislation. It's converting this tenant association into a cooperative
system, yeah.
And having it was named as Khazan Land Board Act. But however, it did not come into play. So Vicar had to go to center and this. But that is still there. It can be modified. I think some thought should be.
Yes, actually there was about a couple of years ago, there was this Khazan society of Goa that was formed by like-minded people, even farmers. But I think there's to go that one step higher, where the
government should take a part in it. Because without participation, I don't think.
Correct, as one of the stakeholders.
Yes.
Sangeeta, you talked about the problem tree. And one of the things that caught my eye, and even in the presentation, if you all remember, she talked about women working in the Khazan lands. And I'm also into working into construction and trying to revive mud architecture. And today I'm finding that it's more and more men and only men working. And our traditional systems had women. And therefore women brought a certain something, some magic to it, I would like to believe. And you are also a woman, and I would like to understand from your perspective what you have learned about the systems where there was a lot of women participation, and that has changed now.
And what is the impact of that? Before I start, I would like to tell you about two things. When you asked us to close our eyes and remember our childhood, let me tell you, both of us have been playing in the river water. We also swim in the river waters in our childhood.
We are same cousins.
So we have the same, we share the same ancestral house. So that was one of the major reasons. Secondly, let me just say this. I remember Bismarck. When we were talking about swimming, I remember Bismarck because he was working so much for Khazans, Bashi Khazans, I think.
Yes.
So,
Sandeep.
so that's what I remember. But now, coming to women in agriculture, see, women have major skill role in agriculture. Like they are the ones who will reserve the seeds. They have the role of selecting the seeds for the next generation, for the next crop, the next year, next season. And it's a very crucial step. The agriculturists will know that was the role of women. They would preserve the seeds. Yeah, they would select, preserve the seeds, and they have many roles in the agriculture itself that we all see in the fields. But somehow women in agriculture, the farmer women, is always at the backside. She's never in the forefront. Whereas, as far as the fisher woman is concerned, she always had a kind of a different attitude there because she does the marketing. And she is the one who is associated with the economics. She sells, she has the money, and you see that in her attitude. Now, that's the difference. Agriculture, farmer woman, she doesn't have the money in her hand. She doesn't hold the money. Whereas the fisher woman is the finance minister. She is the one. So you see that even in the market, you see the difference in the attitude of a fisher woman and a farmer.
Right.
So, as some, they say that is the major freedom of having money, having that is the main.
But they worked along with
Yes.
because there used to be a tsor or tsor or tsor,
The trench.
a trench which was dug actually to stop the intrusion of water, and it was almost 1.5 to 2 meters deep and 60 centimeters in distance. It used to be a very women used to do that. Work there. And we were mixing that copper with soil and putting it.
Packing it.
Because basically, this soil mechanics, I'm a civil engineer, so basically soil mechanics has come into play some 40-50 years back. But here, reinforced soil, means soil with copper, used to be used in this construction thousands of years ago. 2000 years ago, we are using this reinforced soil technique.
Correct. Yeah.
So many, technically there are so many things which have come from our forefathers. One is that, second is the cooperative movement. We talk about the moon like this, nobody talks about Gankari. Nobody has brought out that what was the Gankari. How they used to cultivate field and spend it on burns and this and then divide it, give food to a king or a whatever temple. And afterwards, maybe became a church afterwards. But all this system of Gankari was a cooperative movement. If you did not till your farm for 3 years, you are not allowed into that cooperative movement. You are not given that this.
Even the plot was shared.
Yeah.
And you didn't have same person cultivating the same plot.
It would change.
On
So it was a
location.
common ownership. It was a common
I think
ownership.
that was the beauty about it, that
It was commonly owned and commonly cultivated.
right, and managed, no?
Yeah, managed.
This whole our act changed that.
Right. Also, when you talk about the systems of construction, like today, and you know this better because today when we talk of building in low-lying lands or where there is water, we feel that there is no other solution but using piles, and all the piles are concrete. But if you see the traditional systems, and if you right now in Kurka, if you go on the old bridge, you will see along the river bank, the creek bank, how they are restoring that edge. The system was simple. They would put wooden piles, munde ame munta. So they would drive those piles in parallel lines and then pack the in between area with rubble stone or
Those are known as Goans and spurs. Look, these are to tackle the currents and waves.
Correct.
So this technique was used since when?
3,000 years.
In Khazans, it is the clay from the same field.
Correct. Correct.
Marine clay is used. Look, marine clay has got very less shear capability.
Correct.
Another thing is it dries, when it dries, it cracks.
Correct.
So this straw was used as a reinforcement for that.
Yes.
So it was a very simple thing, but look, the technique used by these people. Those who did this huge amount of burns and all that, they had got astronomical knowledge of sea, knowledge of civil engineering, knowledge of what you can say soil mechanics, so agriculture. So everything they had a complete vast knowledge of integrated. They were very knowledgeable person, and 3,000 years ago.
Correct. So what do you think? This is a question open to both of you. See, there's a lot of this traditional knowledge in every sector. I'm not just saying hazard management and agriculture, but we are losing that knowledge because most of it was old. And
I think look, old people had got that knowledge. Now this we are not getting skilled personnel to work on that, to make up. So you don't get that skilled personnel. They were situated in some pockets like Boma, these. You could get that skilled personnel at that point. But nowadays you don't get it. All are imported from either Bihar or the Desh, but they are very rough days. They are not skilled as earlier.
So do you think this traditional knowledge will die out? And is there something by which, other Padekar Sudha mein hai aapko. So how do we ensure that, we give the knowledge to the younger generation?
And change is inevitable. That's happening everywhere, in every field. So that's inevitable. But now this was an attempt, what I remember, it was an attempt to document it at least. And I'm hopeful because now, currently maybe in the past few years, I'm seeing a lot of people coming forward to cultivate the fields, to cultivate the crops, because they know the importance of it. And even when agriculture is not financially remunerative, despite that, they just want to cultivate because they want to retain the tradition and knowledge.
Also, I think COVID taught us that we have to be self-sufficient. And if we don't know how to fish, we are not going to be able to feed ourselves in a way.
Not only fish, I think the kurbut, that nutrient, rice, I think warehouse, I think government is making attempt even to get a GI tag.
It's already got a GI
No, I
tag.
don't think.
I've also read about I've also read about it that
It has got
GI tag. Okay, so
No, they have now ICR has developed more variety of that. I don't know the name, I forgot the name.
Govardhan.
I've also read about it. that-
Govardhan.
Govardhan 3-4.
I've also read about it that Goa and Kerala are the only two places that grows this traditional Korungut variety which can withstand salinity.
Kerala has Kutinad crops.
Yeah, Kutinad. Look,
They are below sea level. Kutinad.
all these lands are below sea level.
Correct.
We have actually reclaimed it, our ancestors reclaimed it from
Floodplains too, yes. state of the Khazans. Okay, there is garbage. Just look at the periphery of Panjim. Pata was part of the Khazan land. We know some of the farmers. Elsa, the famous environmental architect, is from that area, and she laments about this. When the Pata, the EDC came up, they lost all their lands. Mada also. So if you look everywhere, what is the state of our Khazans today? There is garbage, people are throwing construction debris, there are people also picnicking, there are beer bottles and wrappers and lots of litter. There's a lot of land filling, in our fields, in the salt pans, the periphery of the salt pans also. If you go and look at the garbage segregation unit, just in the periphery of Pato, and you come over the Atal Setu, you will see a lot of land filling along the edges of the barns. A lot of barns are being, in a way, resurfaced, not with the chikul mati. It is with platoche mati, lateritic soil, and then you have a different kind of vegetation growing on it. So if you look at all this,
basically, one has to change what sector is. You cannot remove Astora in soil now. It's banned. You cannot use clay from Astora in this and use it for the ones. Like earlier, they used to take it from a canoe, mash it with straw.
They used to take it from
from the Astora in this.
Yeah, they still do that.
Some do it, but some do it. But basically, it's not allowed. If you say it's a CRZ one, and it's a
Khazans.
Yes, they were
earlier. Now once
but in
up to the months.
In Diwar, most of the barns are repaired like that.
They are repaired. They are repaired. But basically, if government is repairing, they cannot remove that.
The mud used for the
because
land.
it becomes CRZ one.
Okay.
There's
Certain
a issue.
traditional activities are allowed.
Traditional, this permission, it doesn't come on. So, actually, mangroves have grown all over this.
Because of the breaches. Yes.
No, because mangroves inside is the problem.
Correct.
Outside, actually, they act like a protection to these plants.
Correct. We've also seen this conflict between environmentalists and ecologists and farmers, because environmentalists and ecologists say that don't cut any mangroves, even if they are inside the areas of the Khazans. And farmers say that how do we then restore agricultural land? So we're seeing this conflict often. I go back to my observation that we are losing a lot of Khazan land. Like in Santa Cruz, another lady, a local lady, says that some of the Khazans on the periphery closer to the Bamboli hillock is already bought by a casino company. And somewhere in Nerul, I have a friend who says that it's a part of the Khazans near the salt pans are also bought, and we don't know the authenticity of this information. But there is pressure of development, there is pressure of expansion of cities and villages, and there's a lot of construction activity. So now you're retired, Mr. Nadkarni, so what do you think, what role the government can play? If I like your point that the government has to be like a bridge.
Look, it has to be a bridge, but look, they cannot you cannot put any bund which is constructed. Okay, newly you construct and give to them. Capital cost government can put. But afterwards, maintenance has to be taken up by these tenants or tenants associations. Presently, nobody does any maintenance. Once this is every annual earlier there used to be maintenance every day. At least once in a month, somebody should go and check up, and if one stone has fallen, they can put it in place. But I've seen that nowhere this thing, and they put it on government.
There's no monitoring.
Because it is owned by those persons only. It is not owned by government. Look, but still government helps out and does this. But one should take care of these assets. So what I said is, look, it has become a private ownership and a sort of a common responsibility, which doesn't work unless you make it something cooperative movement, what we envisage to do. It will not work like that. Now, even the GCCI is trying a cooperative movement in Santa Cruz, I think. A small Khazan they want to do. Agriculture department is doing somewhere in but those are isolated.
They're very small.
They are very small. We have got vast lands. There are big Khazan, Khazan, which is at I think Petne, just before the bridge. Chapora. Very big Khazan. It's known as Khazan. So
The place
that's
itself is one Khazan.
Khazan.
yeah, that name itself suggests.
There are
So,
many Khazans actually.
yeah. Actually, in my book, I have listed all the Khazans. So, basically, we tried from A to Z. That is after liberation. Before liberation, a lot of Khazans have gone.
So, but we don't have the data how much we have lost after liberation.
After liberation, now you can.
The figure that we use, 18,000 hectares.
No, 18,951 is based on
that is
notified. So,
1960s.
1960s.
And in the last 50 years, we have lost so much of Khazans.
Definitely.
Now,
The recent report also states that some 90,000 square meters of just a tree cover has been lost. So, in comparison, loss of
90,000 means it is just 9 hectares.
whatever it is.
90,000.
But Mrs. Sonak, I just wanted to ask you the same question. Do you have a difference in opinion on what role the government can play?
I think first of all, what is required is an inventory of our Khazans present. Because we don't know, we still, I have been, since I started 25 years back, I've been hearing 18,000 hectares, which was a figure given in 1967 J.C. Alpina's book. And we still talk about that.
The same figure.
No.
And
Actually,
Sangeeta,
Sangeeta, you are not this. I have enumerated each Khazan wise. What is the Khazan? What is the length of one protected in my book? And it is totaling about 433 and 18,951. So, no, out of that, lot has been converted. I agree with you. But this is what has been notified.
Yeah, that is from the data 1960s.
No,
data.
up to
That's
75 also it is notified.
And
Notification
actually
is
today there is a lot of software available.
Yeah,
Which just can
some we need
very
to
easily.
see how much
no CZMP have done a lot of work on that now.
There are a lot of errors in the CZMP also.
But see, even this data, that is available, needs to be put in public.
Correct.
So whatever data is available, either in the form of whatever, it has to be in public domain. That is what, and that is not just for this, even for the other day we had this session on mother. Our Goan ecosystems are very less documented. We don't have anything, any data scientifically assessed in public domain at least. Like Panelist has been collecting data through ICMEM and COMEP's projects. For years they had collected.
Sangeeta, regarding Madai, I have been dealing with this. NIO was not ready to cooperate.
No, that's what I'm saying.
We went to them.
Data. All that data
We
has
went
to
to
be
them.
in public domain.
Yeah, they have to bring it out also.
I think this is a problem, and I would all agree with you. That even in colleges, like the Goa University does a lot of research. Nothing is there in the public domain. And it's so important for us to have that access to
Goa University documents. They are there, but nothing can
And
be
it's very
downloaded.
good work. There's a lot of specific work being done in different
See, the whole thing is someone else can go ahead, this mother thing only. Whether there is salinity and intrusion, how do you make, even if you have to do soil conductivity salinity test today, you don't have your baseline data, which we have. There are many government institutes.
No, we have collected it. But the question is one more.
Accessibility.
That is for criminal. One thing, that is part of tribunal, you cannot disclose here. The second thing is, whenever something is collected, it is not disclosed to this public at large. Even if government asks, they don't do part with it.
So they should, all that we are saying
That is the thing.
It should be made accessible.
Yeah.
Because it's important.
because this is
For
just, see, I
everybody.
understand some IPRs and all, some research data associated with IPRs. That is something which is different. But all these government departments, the data that is collected belongs to public. It is for the public. There has to be this understanding, and I feel this data has to be made available. It should be on the website. This is physicochemical parameters which a lab is collecting. Simple data which I had to get. See, I was working on some technical papers which were presented for international conferences and all for MOE. For me to get data for that, I had to get it from Delhi MOE through our Delhi from NIT. Because that's where we are. I think if this data, like today, if you have to conduct any experiments also for Martha's salinity intrusion, that data, the baseline data we don't have. Not many people are aware.
One more issue is that,
Even
look,
on hydrology, we don't have
data.
There are a lot of citizens now fighting for protecting springs at the base of hills, and there is no access to any kind of baseline data or reference to look at, the hydrology of the place. And I
Today
think
you can collect, say, anything, salinity data.
what is hydro? What do you mean by hydro?
in the sense that there is a lot of development now in terms of construction coming up at the base of the
that
hill.
is not
There is
hydro.
also
That is not hydro.
And let me explain.
Look, I'm a hydrologist
There's
basically.
let me explain. There's a lot of indiscriminate pumping because earlier there were wells, now there are bore
No,
wells.
that
So
is
what
not-
happens is when you are pumping out water, let's say for a large development of 28 villas which are swimming pools, it is impacting the overall.
Definitely. But one thing is that for everything there's a regulation. Unless you take permission, you cannot draw groundwater.
But it is happening.
It is happening. There are not many of these. I think government should be some slightly, I think, in that. Even earlier we were thinking of even going into AI by having a electronic feed around the well and putting GPS on tankers so that you could find out how many these things. But sometimes you are not allowed. Even if you want.
I think for a common man, we do know that we are really suffering with water shortages because somewhere water is being pumped out. And new developers.
No, I'll tell you. No. If you see water, we have got a water. No, I have got a big this for that. Drinking water capacity of Goa is more than 700 million liters per day, divided by population of including floating population,
Which is 5 times.
which is more than required. So where does the water? Anyway, I don't want to go.
But I have the last question before we open it out to all of you, and it is critical because Goa is a coastal state, and we are sitting on a ticking bomb, and none of us realize it yet. But we are already seeing a lot of evidences. We work with a lot of college students, and we have asked them to document evidences of climate change. And my question to both of you is, a lot of people have been talking about submergence, and Khazans are supposed to be our flood management systems. It is infrastructure. Today all of us are only looking at bridges and roads and all these as infrastructure, but we have an infrastructure which is existing, which is
Can I respond
3,000
to
years
that?
old.
Can I respond
want
to
to
that?
know
About climate change. Look, Penguin City, I have been born and brought up in this city. And I have looked at the drainage system right from start, means early 70s, 80s, 90s. and now present is. Now so much vagaries have gone into that system, and they are thinking of improving that system. My this question is basically in another 30-35 years, about it is said that because of climate change, about 30% of Penguin City is going to go underwater.
Including?
Can you speak? No, I'm not
We are just
completed.
not
So 30% is going underwater. Should we not work in that this in a phase-wise manner? We cannot drain out all that. In the years to come, we have to think about pumping system on the lines of Netherlands.
You think that is the...
No, you have to not exactly mirror, but you have to work out, think out of the box. And NDM has gone through a lot of vagaries. I can cite so many things, but even then we are not here. As regards to Khazan lands, I feel that the freeboard of Khazan birds is very less. It's about 25 to 30 centimeters freeboard is normally earmarked for birds, which is very small. And with this increase in sea level, if at all it goes much more than that, then all these birds should be happening. We have to take a call on it. Look, heightening 433 kilometers of mud at one go is a big thing.
Sonak, what is your take on it? I feel Khazans really have a climate smart infrastructure.
Absolutely.
Inbuilt infrastructure is climate smart. So, if we really understand the Khazan ecosystem, and in one of my writings, I keep saying, we keep feeling that the earth, the whole planet is only for man, human beings. It's not so. It's an ecosystem which has other creatures also, and we have to think about Khazans as an ecosystem. That's why I always say Khazan ecosystem. It's not just man. Like the crabs. Okay, the crabs dig the holes and it causes breaches. It breaches the bugs. But it is important because it takes care of it is a major decomposer. The decomposing or
Vegetal matter.
it takes care of all that decomposition. So that is why every insect, every creature on this ecosystem has a role for itself, and we need to recognize that. So we have to handle Khazan as an ecosystem. It's not always, again and again, it's the biodiversity. It's not just, this planet is not for just human beings.
Okay.
So if there is a recognition that every creature has a role, and that is important, we may not recognize it today, but the biodiversity loss is immense loss to the whole world.
Absolutely. And I think it's a straight question to all of us. Imagine if the Khazans were not there. What would happen to all of us? We're quite selfish, right? We think only about us as part of the bigger, predator in that ecosystem. But that's a question I'm leaving this with you. If the Khazans are not there, okay, what will happen to us? What will happen to this very unique flood management system? Or I think it is a legacy that our ancestors have given us, not to exploit, but to preserve and conserve, so that we don't, hasten our extinction in a way. I now open the discussion to our participants, and you can raise your hand, and we will, take your questions. Yes, sir.
I have many questions.
Please introduce yourself.
My name is Gurudas Rodriguez. I'm an engineer basically. Now turned into farmer.
Wow.
Yeah. I studied at IIT Mumbai, 1977 to Assam. But I never worked in Goa much. But always troubling me are a few questions. Many experts have raised the issue of data. One data I'm looking for, frantically. That is the list of rivers of Goa. and the data on that, how long and all. You understand?
Yes.
That data is very important because things are disappearing. Somebody is filling up. So in the public domain it will come.
Correct.
List of rivers with full data. We collect how they belong, topography, everything will come.
Is this data available?
No, in one of the
I think
seminar,
whatever he says is not in the public domain, but it's a bare data. I don't think detailed data what he says should be carried out.
yeah.
Yes.
You should ask him to make it available.
Goa doesn't have that orientation to produce data.
Yes.
That data was given by Karnataka.
Which?
Rivers of Goa.
No.
In that belt.
Look, I was a coordinator for a Goa in
After we retired.
No. Look,
By
before
mistake, I
retirement.
entered one seminar. And there they were asking, we don't have this data of what you
But I think Mr. Lotlikar's point is very important for us because, like Mr. Lotlikar, there are many others who talk about like Seoli. The ocean spring was threatened. So people said we don't have any map to refer to which will show us which are the natural aquifers which are feeding. So I think
Tallulah, I will give one more thing.
No.
WID has already started, if I'm not wrong, documentation of all the water bodies in Goa. I'll give you the link. I will, if you give me your email, I'll give you the link.
Okay.
And definitely you will get, it is taluka wise. You will get springs, you will get wells,
Yes.
and you will get ponds. About rivers,
Land and all, how
I'll try to get it and give it to you.
Okay.
and actually, there are many people like this who want information because somebody in the neighborhood is filling up field or there is some issue. We have no mechanisms to be able to reach out to the right departments to be able to say. Because without baseline data, like Mrs. Sonak has said, it becomes very difficult, right? So that was a good point you raised, Mr. Lotlikar.
Yeah.
And I will, reaffirm to what Mrs. Sonak has said that it is so critical that we have baseline data available. So if there are any professors from the university,
I can send it to you now also. If you give me your WhatsApp number.
Thank you. Yeah.
No, basically
I'll give you.
government.
yes.
You know, we have got
Yeah.
a water body class. I'll
Share
send it.
Yes. Maybe
Share it with
we
the
can give it to
Can I give it to who was
Aditya.
No, who was I'll send it to you now.
Sir, but this
Very
data is
thank you.
already in some public URL, no? It is already on website somewhere.
I don't know, they were removing it, but I have got it. I'll send it to you. I'll send it to her. You can collect it.
Thank you very much. Similarly,
Both north and south go.
Goa. Similarly, the list of mountains. Which are the earlier geography I learned in Goa. They used to teach us. These are the main. Sosokar, Shatriyanji Mauni.
Correct.
All this Bahari.
I think the point here is full
Data,
data. Whatever
yes.
data
Yes.
is required, whatever data is collected should be made available on the
Available.
government
And it
websites.
should be taught in schools.
Publicly made
Goa,
available.
Anpune Goa, they are calling. But they do nothing.
Yes.
You
I know that there is this QGIS software which some of my interns have been using. So it is very useful and anybody can access it. It gives you the topography of the land, so how high it is, if there is a valley, and you can easily sort of understand, and it is shareable. So there is something, but there is a lot like that, data should
Government
be.
data, whatever. I think they have the English center.
There's a new website called amche.in. It's people are using that to generate maps with data. So, for example, hill slopes has already been plotted. And if you see the Reddit discussion on it, people have put Khazans, mark water bodies also. It's a kind of citizen sourced information crowdsourced information which is getting compiled. Well, it doesn't absolve the government of its role because that's the official data.
Yes.
But people are generating it. It cannot be. That is not. It's also done in a scientific way using ISRO satellite data and all that. And some people who are good at mapping, they make it open source. So amche.in, please follow it. It's very recent. It's just 2 weeks ago. Amche.in. There is
Double A.
no single A. AMCHE.in.
There was a gentleman here. Thank you for this.
No more for me.
Sorry.
Also, you can ask them later. See, they are available here.
Yeah, but if they were more important.
Yeah, so we can give it.
But give me chance. I want to speak in this forum because all knowledgeable people are experts. So you will have some effect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, hi, I'm Samuel Alfonso and I'm assistant professor for environmental science at Chole College. And just continuing to what you said and what you all also discussed, you all had mentioned about the CZMP maps, about flaws being in it. And I can witness to it that there were flaws in these maps. Because I, as a student, I did an internship in order to correct these maps and to submit it to the panchayats, the various village panchayats. And with my personal experience, I have done 3 villages, Kavlosing, Karmana and Orlim, which all 3 have Khazan lands of the river Sal, by the river Sal. So to my experience, there was at least 60% of the data had flaws in it when it came to CZMP. And the company which did this survey was not from Goa. That was the irony.
That was the worst thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
The company
Because
was.
most of the data was done through satellite
In
mapping.
Chennai.
And we also were part, a lot of people I know had volunteered to study, whether the mangrove areas were documented properly, Khazan areas were documented properly, and there were a lot of errors. Even the Sandeep Creek, by the way, was not listed as a water body at all in the draft CZMP. Yeah. So I think again we are coming back to data, authentic, which the government and even university should share what they have so that the common person can use it for whatever reason, to protect the land.
University, lot of data is on the internet. But the thing is, those documents can never be downloaded because somehow I think that the way they have uploaded it, because the big files usually. Yeah,
Yes,
Yeah.
Mr. Peterson.
Yeah, Peter said. I think what we are not talking about is what's happening to the environment. See, all these Khazan lands which exist today, in so many years they are all going to be underwater. And half of this, all the areas around the seas are going to be underwater. And it is what we are doing to climate, the cities, the construction and all that, food, generation of food. No one is paying attention to that. And we cannot, whatever data you collect is going to be irrelevant in another 10 years or 20 years when everything is underwater. And the robots are coming, artificial intelligence is coming. The whole world is changing. And unless we do something about climate change, nothing is going to work.
So I think again this is a very important point. Do we lose all hope and understanding that yes.
Namaste, I'm Vishwas. I'm from NABARD. I'm glad to meet you, sir. NABARD and WRD, the close association, and Dilari and Junaim and all these dams. I think you might have.
I was in India for 14 years, so I know.
So that's a great thing. Apart from that, particularly this Khazan, I come from Maharashtra and we particularly from Ratnagiri, but we do not have this kind of landscapes there. Maybe in the very coastal region, maybe. But the Goan Khazan system is very unique, and for centuries it has been there. We are talking about conservation, conservation. But at the same time, these lands were conserved to make economic benefit. in the olden days. So it was used for agriculture, different types of crops and fishery activity also. Now that since there are many incidents of bunds being damaged and continuous ingression of water and losing those lands and rise of mangroves, so many other issues. I am not very having a sound knowledge of all this subject, so I may not be able to put light on that aspect. But what I would like to drive attention to, recently we funded one project to ICR for rejuvenation of these Khazan lands in Mauritius, where those lands were brought back to
through GCC.
GCCI is also monitoring that. We have funded and ICR is implementing that. So
It's a small section.
small
Yes,
section,
small.
very small section. It is just a kind of a prototype, we can say, demonstrative effect. But then it's very difficult because over the years, when the land has been filled with that saline water, it may take considerable time to get back to those old systems. And all depends on the levels of salinity, maybe so many technical issues. But maintenance, conservation is directly related to economics. Now, if that doesn't remain, the economic interest is lost from those lands, then perhaps maintenance will also become an issue.
Okay.
So,
So,
I'll just talk for
I will have to close it at this point, but I want to recall what Mr. Peter Singh mentioned, and that was when we talk about climate change, while he says the inundation of these lands is inevitable, okay, he also raises a point about food security. Finally, to live, we will need some food to survive. And if each of us think that Khazans is a direct connection to our food security, then the question is, how do we conserve it to make economic sense, okay? And also, we need to put our hands there to be able to preserve it. And now, I want you to
said one point to Tallulah specifically. You deal with children a lot. So, is there a part of the syllabus where Khazans are taught and children are shown what is Khazan first of all? Because majority of the urban children don't even know what is Khazan. So, just to further that point,
No, it
because
is not.
it is
Because
because then when you see, you will know what.
In fact, I get furious when the book, I think it's in the 6th standard or 5th standard, it mentions that a mud house is a kacha house and a pakka house is the one with cement concrete. Okay, so books don't teach anything right now. Our education system is really regressive that way because what is taught in books has no connection to our rich tradition, culture, and the Khazans.
The NCERT books, which are all
Yeah.
Delhi board.
Okay.
I know
Khazan only for school stories. So we are doing that. We work with a lot of children. But I know our minds are now all chaotic, so we do a check-in again. I want you to close your eyes, okay? Just for a few seconds before Aditya takes over. 1, 2, 3. Just close your eyes, okay? And let's reflect on just this one question to self. The Khazans we recognize as a very unique system, only kind of system across the whole world. This Khazan that is there in Goa, it is our food security, it gives us everything. Therefore, what can I do to protect these lands, to conserve these lands, to work on it so that we can all benefit? You can open your eyes. Thank you. Risha, you can take it.
Thank you to all the panelists.
We have with us our radio partners, 92.7 Big FM. I would like to invite Mr. There to ask a few questions.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I am Uday. I am RJ Uday on 92.7 Big FM. We are the radio partner for these dialogues, and I host a show in the afternoon called Fairy Tales. Not the Pari Katha, but the Fairy Katha, like a ferry boat, and it's connected with the nature. And your interview, sir and ma'am, was got very good response, and I got many questions. We're promoting this Miramar Dialogues on the radio. So I'll have some few questions. And this sounds very basic after this discussion, but I think it's required to answer these questions because we take these questions to the public, to the common man. What artist just said, that same thing actually vibrates here in this question. The question is, how can I think she's a teacher, Anuradha from Sandeep. She says, how can I explain the mechanics of working and functioning of Khazan system to my students in very, very simple language?
You can read my book. I would like to bring it out as rudimentary as possible.
Okay.
It was technically intrinsic. It was reduced to this because it should go to common man.
Right.
Because I have done it through GCCI, so they wanted it to go to common man. I think if you read that book, at least you'll get some knowledge of Khazans.
Right. So next question is from Vishesh.
I have an answer to
Yes,
that.
yes.
the last session.
So the simple thing is, it is basically a unique kind of land,
Yes.
okay, where because of the tidal current the water comes in, there is a mechanism to control that water, and with it brings all the food that we need.
Right.
If I can answer salt, fish and rice.
We have also made a 4-minute video with children
Yeah.
on the Khazan. Children are only narrating about going there and what they observe.
It is available on YouTube. I'll send it to you.
Wonderful. So
It's been shown by some teachers in schools. We've
wonderful. So
discovered
I think
later.
Anuradha might not be aware of this, so I'll request her to show this
But
video.
it's so nice to see now so many people interested in
Yes.
Khazans and conscious awareness. There is so much.
One question.
When they started about, nobody knew what is Khazans.
Yes. So next question from Vishesh from Parra, and he asks, what happens if buns or sluice gates break down? Who fixes them? Who fixes them?
Actually, it is the responsibility of that tenants themselves to fix it. So actually, if they can be fixed immediately, it doesn't cost much money.
Right.
Actually, when you hear that sound of water seepage, if you try to plug it, it comes within a few, I think within 100 rupees or 200 rupees you can close the thing. But if you keep it for this, it will become a big this and a counter and then a big bridge. Then it becomes impossible for a farmer to repair it. Then they go to work.
Okay, what happens is there is 90% subsidy by the government. Now I think it is
Now it is not there.
100%. It used
Now
to be.
it used to be.
But to repair the funds.
Mm.
So, but the first thing is we need an estimate.
Mm.
But what needs to happen is, by the time you take an estimate from an engineer, PWD, whatever, WWF, it is 5,000 rupees. As the file moves to the government department, that fines have increased so much
Yes.
that 5,000 is not enough. It has now become 15,000.
Right.
No, but Sangeeta, you are not this. That basically you can do within 100 rupees. And their powers are within 500 rupees. But basically they don't want to spend much more. That is why they keep quiet.
I have an answer.
Yes, please.
So, who can repair it? I have an answer on who can repair it. See, we all of us living in cities and urban areas, everybody is going to the gym, forced because of some health condition to walk and run. We need all those hands to be working in our fields. We need all those hands to work on repairing the breaches in the barn. The solution is very simple.
No, repairing weak bridges, it requires a technical intrinsic there. You require Goans, you require.
Actually, we know lots of farmers.
I have seen complete bond being washed
Absolutely.
within minutes.
Yes.
Look, our jeep was there, we took our jeep, suddenly within 5 minutes, that whole bond went off.
It's a technical. Have you seen
Yeah.
repairing
Yes, I've seen
It is a
many
very
times.
technical.
Yes. Many times I've
yeah.
seen it. That's why I'm saying that, like Mr. Nadkarni said, there were hours at the 10, that time only you have to do it in 100 rupees. But even otherwise, it takes a whole army. Imagine a whole village working on building these, repairing these. So we can also do it. I think it is critical, in schools. Aarti was asking, how can we do this? Farming has to be made compulsory. Our children need that exercise. They need to bond with nature, feel the chikol mati, salt on the tongue. Okay, and we can do it. If we give this knowledge to our children, they will become the
Environment and science is
ownership.
But it's so theoretical, no? Like until unless I see what is Khazan, I will never know what is
No, they
Khazan.
should.
They don't look like taking children out of the school is a big task.
It is like that same file. The file
We can be farm badges.
Questions too basic as
But then
well.
thanks to
Sorry.
Tallulah, she is doing amazing work
Yeah.
with children.
Our last question, second question now. Can young people in Goa earn a living by working on Khazan lands? This is Ryan from Mitchell.
I will wait for them to answer.
Look, basically earlier it was sustainable. It can be made sustainable.
Yes.
But however, look, I don't know if everybody knows it. The sluice gate can fetch a lot of huge quantum of money. The money in the sluice gate, I think that actually is regulated by the deputy collector. But nowadays, I don't know.
Some are very active, so
No,
Every
it's,
year, the fishing rights are leased.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the auction is in December. Every December there is an
So,
auction.
huge amount. When it goes in lakhs and lakhs.
Yeah.
So, with that, I think if that is used in the repairs of birds and this, it will go along with.
I have
It's
worked with
not the
students.
agriculture that is financially regulated.
Right.
It's the fishing.
Yes,
Fish
I
Fish
see
is very
there is a great potential, and I've worked with a lot of college students because I keep taking them to the Khazans. One group of students said that this is actually khazana.
Khazana.
Yes.
And you can do like Chora Farmers Club has done it, branding the red rice. So if we can brand our salt, and it is happening if you go to supermarkets today, urban people living in urban areas are very particular about organic food. So they are willing to pay a price when they know that, okay, this is our solar salt, this is our tandoor, all of that. So there is potential. And we worked with our business students from DEMCOs, so we've done a lot of programs and we have a lot of entrepreneurship opportunities. So it is possible.
Right. एक last प्रश्न सांगा sir, and it's from Shriram from Mapsa. तो म्हणता की can I grow something other than rice on Khazan lands?
Look, actually, very near the Manas or Mois, which is slightly Turkish water, they are growing other vegetables. Other this, you have to do it on the upper side, which is known as care side of that, care or moral side of that.
Less healthy.
We have less than it lesser.
Yeah.
And it is grown also. There are in this Ardona and all, they grow vegetables. And that also with lati. With lati they grow vegetables. Up to this. If you go in April, May, you will see lati there. In Khazans of Ardona.
So there are two things. One is this, in the rain especially where there is a lot of fresh water.
Right.
You can grow a lot of vegetables on the upper areas. And there are a lot of wild edibles. Aarti will know this. Okay, lot of wild, like meswak is a mangrove associate. It already is growing there. That also has a
Polchi
potential.
bhaji, polchi bhaji.
Porcelain grows. So there's lots of.
Called as winter vegetables. In the winter, generally
Yeah.
they get vegetables, and in the monsoons, the salinity is 0 ppm. So that is the water which is taken in the sluice gates, and monsoon agriculture is going. Sometimes in some of the lands there are 2 crops taken, rice crops. There are 2 crops taken, and sluice gate also has another function. Now during monsoons also, when there is no rains for a longer time, the sluice gates are opened and they are manually opened to let the water, now 0 ppt water, that is let in and it is used for irrigation of the Khazan lands. So this is what we have practically seen.
Also there is this Icopia aquatica which grows in the mountains. so in the fields, in the Khazan lands. So it is eaten as Tallulah Shaitani meat in the Khazans. So that is also there as a vegetable that people can. So there is a lot of potential.
So actually the dialogues are sorry.
Now Khazans, what we call are actually Khazan in Maharashtra. Maharashtra they are called as Khazan lands, but they are not. They don't have the same architecture or engineering structures as that we have. In Maharashtra, even the mangroves are called as Khazan. Khazan. They are the mangroves, and that has very simple architecture. But the important part in our Khazan ecosystems are the sluice gates, which automatically open with the pressures of tides and the pole. And most of the times, the Khazan, even the right of fishing, fishing lease, the money that is fetched depends on the pole. How big is the pole? Not the Khazan land. It's the pole. The pole is very important in determining the price option.
Actually, this sluice gate also, we tried to analyze whether that size of the sluice gate was, it perfectly fits the drainage from the monsoon, whatever comes from top land. It is exact. Means thousands of years ago they have designed this size of sluice gate. And for each pond it is different size. It's not the same size for everybody. So each is site specific. Bonds are site specific, gates are site specific. So it is a wonderful thing which I think people have done.
That means it's a state heritage.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It has to have a heritage value and protected at all costs.
Even if you see the water levels once the sluice gates are closed, it is not at the same level.
It isn't.
So do you think we need more Khazan land in terms of climate change? More Khazan systems in terms of to deal with climate change?
I don't even know how much it is.
Almost 30 to 40% of Khazan lands are in a dilapidated condition. Very bad shape. Because of this point.
No, I'm talking theoretically, like if we
No,
can Khazan
no,
really help us with
no,
climate
it's,
change?
Because it would be tampering with the inland
You might have to increase the heights. There are a lot of things.
You have to include some villas.
Okay, so that's the last question actually. And Miramar dialogues to Big FM, Raman Power, that's the example of the answer. Questions, the basic question is so we have to bear with these questions. Pratik for year out there, dialogues. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
So before we close, I think I'd like to thank our panelists for coming here and giving us such wonderful knowledge about the Khazan lands. It's nonetheless, it's gaining a lot of interest, Khazan lands, and because they're all around us. I don't think there are anybody or any city wherever we live, we have Khazan lands around us because of the number of rivers and the tributaries and the practice of coastal state. Yes. So as a mark of our just thank you, we have some WWF things. So I'd like to hand them over to our panelists. So first of all, Mr. Nadkarni.
Thank you.
And also, because this is the first time our principal chief conservator of forest, Shri Kamandanta, has come to the office, we'd like to offer.
Thank you.
It's so lovely, sir, that you are here with all of us common people.
Would you like to say something? I have also come to say a couple of words.
Should I?
Yes.
I'm bored there.
So I think because I am the only representative from government who is present, so I thought it is wise to keep my mouth shut. Listen to the experts. It has been a very, very enriching experience. Listen to the two really good, nice experts of Khazan. Incidentally, I am also from agricultural background, so I had a special interest in Khazan. Madam comes often onto our conference. She is doing very great work in marine biology. So what I believe that there are certain questions on Khazan that what will happen if Khazan land goes. My take is somewhat different. It may be not in sync with other. See, Khazan lands are basically low-lying lands which were reclaimed during the Portuguese times.
No.
Before
Portuguese time. Okay. But in millennia, it was a low-lying land, which if Khazan was not to be built, then it would have been a mangrove forest, which is actually happening now. Since the barns have been broken, so nature is having its play.
Like Salim
I hope no farmers are here. I hope no farmers are here.
No, this is a contrary view.
Yes.
So, in a very in a twisted sense, if the Khazans have lost,
Yes.
the forests have gained.
Yes. Also, I
Because
think
the
what
mangrove
Sir is trying to say is, along the riverine areas, our mangroves are our first defense
Yes,
against
exactly,
calamities.
exactly.
So it is very critical. Yes.
The mangroves are increasing in Goa, unlike in other parts of the world.
Yes. And whatever, Goa is a very green state, and the credit goes to all of you. Because the way you are protecting each single tree, in all the conferences, I always tell to other states also, then Goa it is very different. In
So
other
but we need
states,
to do more because there's so much more planting we need to do because at the rate at
we are
which
there with you, whatever you want, we will do.
But we have to control the forest fires.
We have to control the forest fires. We have to control the forest fire, but forest fire, 22-23 forest season, if you leave that alone, the forest fires are very less.
Yes.
Actually, Goa is not conducive to forest fires.
Goa is not.
So actually, how it happened?
That happened because we had done a study, and actually if the temperature goes above 35 and the relative humidity goes below 65, then there is a you can say susceptibility of that area. And then you put some cigarette butt there.
And
and therefore certain measures I'm sure have to be taken so that the fire does not spread much.
Now what we are doing from our department, yesterday only I had a review meeting in all departments. So now we will be doing mock drills with the fire and emergency services and police and forest together.
So if you need volunteers, please tell us.
Yes, we would like your services
Yes,
also.
yes.
Actually, we have enlisted, there are Apada Sakhis and Apada Mitras have been trained, all the villages. There are 360 people. We have been training them in forest fire. Disaster management. So, the state disaster management authority is also there. And I hope that with the training and with the mock drills and with the joint patrolling that we will be doing with the fire and emergency services, we will be able to control the forest fire. Incidentally, last fire season, only 9 fires were detected because of this mock drills. And we could douse the fire, each and every fire, within 2 hours. And it was only a ground fire, nothing was, not a single tree was.
Because we come from Satari.
Satari,
And
yes.
it is a very biodiverse place.
I hope with all your cooperation, we will be able to protect the forest and the mangroves also. But the thing that I have seen is very encouraging. That so many people are interested in and the Goans are interested in their ecology. It's a very big thing. I come from outside, so it is really a learning. Thank you so much.
So, thank you very much, and